Okay, l'cham. Okay. So first of all, posting bechvora shachsani, it's like there's an achdus gomer. So I just have to say, the helper mishpacha. It's just a total achdus. That's they're the achsanya. Whether it's the food, whether it's the lodging. And so it should be mekuyim them hatayra chozeres al achsanya shalom. We should peel right. And of course, the one who made it all possible. I speak about Moshe Mendel. Okay, wow. Shobashav Aliyah, Bischos. Bischos said, he facilitated the Sudas Mitzvah, Li'ili Nishmas Rabbeinu HaKadosh De'Ari HaKadosh. Right? Khan. Right. It's royalty's bonain, this, the fact that, Rabbeinu Ha'ari was nifter, in the middle of the 9 days. Right? And this follows a certain pattern that Dafka Sisrei Torah were Nizgale, to the later Doris. The Zohar was revealed, just a few doors before Girush Sfarad, and the Arizal, that it's all, and the Zohar already talks about this, that it was already Magid Mereshis Achris, that it would be Ledorin Basroin, Sisrei Torah is going to be revealed more, Baskaya in the later generations than the earlier, even though the later generations are smaller than the earlier generations, right? And we have to understand why, right? Right. So we made a sim on Sefer Yetzirah today. So let's quote the from the Sefer Yetzirah on what he says about the month of Av. So part of the Mishnah on Chodesh Av is Himlich Ois Tes B'Shmiya, right? That what reigns in the month of Av is the letter Tes in hearing, right? These are the kochos of the month, right? And then Aryeh Bashana in the zodiac, it's Aryeh, Mazari, what do they call it? Leo in English, yeah, right? Etc. etc. But what the Sfarim more go to town is to understand that of the letters, the oisis that are sholit in this month is the letter Tes, right? Bishmiya in hearing, right? So Reb Tzadok explains that that he brings the Gemara in Baba Bakama Daf Nun Hey that haroeh Tes b'chalomo simen yafulo. If you see a letter Tes when you dream, and so think letter Tes before you go to sleep, all right? If you see a letter Tes in your dream, it's a simen yafeh. Hol v'pasach bo hakosav l'toiva, because the first time the letter Tes is used in the Torah is in the word toiv. V'alakim es or kitoiv. So that's a letter. First time you find letter Tes ever written, right? So since pasach bo hakosav l'toiva, any time the first time Torah used the letter Tes was l'toiva, so it's that's a simen yafeh. So what do Chazal say about that? V'alakim or kitov. What Rashi brings it right there on the spot. That refers to the or hagonus, right? That hidden light. V'alakim or kitov. That the Rebbe Shem saw it's lo kedai, right? This or should be mishamish in this world that the Rishayim should have access as gonzom, and that's what v'alakim ben or ben achoshach. The Rebbe Shem was gon as the or lost the love for the tzaddikim and those who are omal Torah shabal peh. So that means that the letter Tes, that toiv, refers to the toiv that's gonus, it's hidden, right? We don't have access to it, right? So we don't see it, we only hear about it, because the Torah talks about it. So it says, Reb Tzadok, that's ois Tes b'shmiya, right? The letter Tes represents the toiv that's too good to see. You only hear about it. And that's the inyan that the Maharal explains, that Olam Haba is not explained in Torah Shebechsav. Torah Shebechsav never talks about Olam Haba. It just talks about Schar and Olam Hazeh. Right? So unfortunately go crazy about why this is. So the Kuzri says something interesting, Grada, that the Kuzri says that the Rebbe Shem threw down a challenge that you could see in this world. If you keep mitzvahs, v'asafta d'gonecha, right, to promise you Olam Haba, everyone could promise you Olam Haba, right? They promised the shahidim that blow themselves up Olam Haba, right? By the time you realize you've been had, right? You can't come back and warn everybody else, right? Right? So the Torah, so that's why this Kuzri says. That's why the Torah spoke about Schar and Omazev, the Torah threw down a challenge that you could see in this world. Now, anyone could promise you the afterlife, right? But the Maharal says, in the Hakdama Shlishis to the Gvuris, so he says a different pshat. And he says the reason why Olam Haba is only mentioned in the Torah Shebaal Peh is because it's just too big to be seen. And he references the Gemara, Kol Neviim lo nisnabu el yemos hamashiach, avo Olam Haba ayin lo rasa elokim zu asecha. Even the Neviim, the Nevu only reaches until Mashiach. Olam Haba is too far, only HaKadosh Baruch Hu seen it. So it's too big to be seen. Torah Shebechsav is what we read. It's Nitfas Beria, it's black on white, it is written. So this is too big to be seen. You only hear about it, and that's Torah Shebaal Peh, the Torah that's oral that you hear. We tell you ideas, right? But the problem with ideas is, all right, it sounds good, but who says it's real? Right? That's the problem. It sounds good. Sounds good. The Or Ki Tov is Bishmiya. Right now, it's only Nignaz. We can only hear about it. We can't see it. Right? But here's the thing. That Bisman Shebeis HaMikdash Haya Omed Al Tilo, so it says Liros Es Ha'odon Pnei Adon Hashem Elokei Yisrael. You come Liros, you come to see. You bring in Eilas Re'iyah, right? That this Or HaGornos, a little bit of it was revealed in the Makam HaMikdash. That's all. And when the Beis HaMikdash was Nechrav, so this little bit of seeing the Or HaGornos was taken away from us, and that's why you'll find the Davar Niflamot, right? That all the Tfilas and all the Nevuos, let's all talk about Riyah. V'sechazena einenu b'shuvcha tziyom rachmim. V'areinu Hashem Elokeinu b'nechmas yorecha. V'sechazena einenu b'shuvcha tziyom rachmim. Right, etc., etc., etc. All the tefillas are all talking about, that we should be able to see again, and that's the side of Or Chodosh Al Tzion Torah V'Iska Kolonim Ero Leoro. That all this tov, this Or HaGornos should be revealed. A little bit of it was revealed in the Beis HaMikdash, right? And when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, right? That the Makam Liros, Pnei Hashem Liros, was taken away. Right, that was like the one place where the Or HaGornos, all these secrets of the Toiv. Now, part of what the secrets of what's Gonuz is, right, how, this the Ramchal explains, right, that everything that happens, Bashamayim Mimal and Arts Mitachas, everything is all Yotzei Mershus Adon Echad Yachid, right? And that's why Chochmas HaKabbalah is called Chochmas HaEmes, right? Because if you have this technology, you know that Judaism is not a theory, right? It's just not a nice idea. But we can explain, promise it's only explaining thus far, right? We can explain very, very well how one God created everything. And there's only one Rishus, and even though there's different Kaichas, there's still only one God. And that's what we learned today when we said the Siyum, right? The last mission, Sefer Yitzhak, Avram Avinu was Oimed and all these Seidas, that one God created all the different Kaichas. There's Adon Yachid for everything. He was oimid on this, that one God could be the Baal, the Baal Abira for everything that there is. That's what's in this parish, in this Chochma Nifla Azu, that's connected the Or HaGornos, the truth that's hidden that we can't see, but we can at best explain it, B'shmiya, right? So now, an amazing thing, here's a vort I heard from my Rebbe, Moshe Shabira, right, that... Right. There are two months that are mentioned together, in the Brisa. It says, "Kashem shemishenichas adar marbim besimcha, kach mishenichnas av mematim besimcha." Just like mishenichnas adar, you start increasing. So also when Av comes in, you start being might. It's mentioned in the same Brisa, ma. So I heard from my Rebbe, right? The pshat is like this, right? Because Bemes, when Haman threw the lots, right? He was right, right? Adar was a bad month for us at the time, prior to the Nes of Purim. Moshe Rabbeinu died, right? Who cares? 120 years earlier he was born. It goes after how it ended, right? He who laughs last, right? So, he was born. Who cares? He was born 120 years earlier, right? So, Elam, I was talking a bad month for us, but because Am Yisrael did tshuva me'ava, avaros of Naso kischuyas, and they were mahapach the mazel to a mazel tov. And that's why, if you have a thing with a goy, take him, in Adar, right? Right? But we did that. So my Rebbe said like this, Av was supposed to be our best month for us. The best month, right? The Teva, the way Rebbe created was supposed to be our best month. So he said, can you do it? Right now, what's our best month? Nisan, Chodesh HaGeula. So in Kayadua and Lashon HaKodesh, when you double the last letter, that means small. Like katan is small, ktantan, very small. Or like he explained to us, El means strength. So Arizal we call Elil, little God. We make fun of it, right? So Nisan, which is Chodesh Hagula, is Chodesh Ha'aviv. What does that mean? Little Av. Little Av, right? I mean, Nisan, small compared to Av. Aviv. Av, right? Imagine if Am Yisrael wouldn't have taken listen to CNN, the Meraglim, right? And they, right? They would have taken the fake news, right? And they would have listened to Fox, Yoshua and Kalev, right? And they, right? Imagine, we've gone into Yahrtzeit with Moshe Rabbeinu. It would have been the best month for us, right? We ruined the month. So just like Adar, we were matakin the month, so also Av, we ruined the month. And that's why these 2 months go together. Adar is the month that we fixed, and we made a good month. Av is the great month that we made bad. And that's why the two go together, that from when the time the mazel starts already, you have to be married b'simcha, because we made it a good mazel. And that's Av also, we made it a bad mazel, we did that. So that's why when, not just Tisha B'Av, but already Shenichras Av, because we made the whole month of the month what it is, right? Right, but Av was be'etzem meant to be our biggest month, where the Or HaGonos, the Os Tes, would be Nizgala, right? B'Re'iyah, not just B'Shmiyah, right? Right, and that's the inyan that ever since we're in Golus, right, after Chorban Abayis, so b'machashakim hoshivani kimisei olam. Hashem put us in darkness of those dead to the world. Says the Gemara said Zed Talmud Shel Bavel. That's Talmud Bavli. When the Gemara wants to bring a raya, it says Ta Shma. Come here, right? Because we don't see, we're blind. So that's why the Bavli is very mepulpal, a lot of pilpul, because we've got to try every single option, because we don't know if we're right, we don't see. So we have to by a process of elimination, right? But in Zohar, Vashtei Ta Chazi, come see. Because in the Zohar, in the Kabbalah, it's a little bit of a gilui of the Or HaGonos. You can actually see it. It's so clear. Azoivi, Tochazi, you can see it. But it's still Ba'orach Seichel. It's not yet, Ba'orach Re'iyah, Mamish, right? So now, of course, as we get later and later, down the Doris, even though we're smaller and smaller, right? But we are getting forward closer and closer to the Geula, when it's going to be Begetter Tochazi, right? There's no, the Rebbe Shem can't be outdone. He has a destiny that he wants to attain. No matter how small we get, right? Although I don't know if the Nevi'im ever foresaw Rahman Tzon art scroll, what it did to us, lobotomy, right? But Hashem Yirachim, right? But as small as we get, art scroll would accelerate the process. Right. As small as we get, but we're getting closer and closer, right? And that's why Sisrei Torah, the Or HaGonos, the Or HaChazal has to be Nizgale, because destiny has to unfold. The Rebbe Shem, even if we're screwing up, the Rebbe Shem, he has his agenda that has to be fulfilled, right? And Adarabah, Kafi, the bigger the choshech, the greater that there has to be an or as a countermeasure to the choshech. So Dafka Ba'omek HaGolus, right? The Sefer Azor was revealed, it became popularized, and then afterwards, after Gerush Sfarad, the Arizal came, the Bar Hilula, and he was nifter. He finished life work in Av, right? Which is the 5th month. And is Hey Av, the 5th day of the 5th month, which Kaidu is Hoid Shebahoid, Mamash parallel to Lag Boimer of Rishim Bar Yochai, right? Because the midah of Hoid, which I wanted to be glory and splendor, that's also the midah that could be Rachman al-Son Ishapech l'Ra, like Daniel says, V'hoidi nefach alai l'mashchis, right? My Hoid got destroyed. He said when he got Nevuah and he couldn't handle it, Hoid nefach l'mashchis, and then the tziruf of the Oasis gets inverted from Hoid becomes Dava, Kol hayom Dava, right? That's the challenge, right? Keneged, Zelu as we learn in this Sefer, Zelu Maseh Oslokim. Keneged, the biggest Ra, comes the biggest Tova as a countermeasure, right? So as the Golus gets darker and darker, right? Fakir, the Rebbe Shem has to give a bigger and bigger or, right, as a countermeasure, because his agenda has to be fulfilled, whether we're Roy or not, his agenda has to be fulfilled. Right, but this comes to another thing. It's something which I heard from my Rebbe Moshe Shapiro. He once came into Shir, right, totally ois mensch. He was in a bad mood, right? He started talking, and he said that, I'll say it in Ivrit, chayav on lo b'lashon rabo, no one has a problem, right? Right? Is that, and איפה שאני מלמד, יש בחור מרוסיה, עולה מרוסיה, בחור נהדר, התקדם בצורה נפלאה בשנתיים שהוא נמצא אצלנו. בחור מצוין. אז הוא בא אליי היום, השבוע, והוא אמר, הרב, יש לי שאלה. בסדר, תשאל בני. אבל לא נעים לי, הרב, באמת לא. תשאל, אני חבר שלך, תגיד. לא נעים לי, תגיד. הרב, זה באמת נכון שהתורה זה אור גדול? כן. אז למה כולם פה אידיוטים? Right? And he started pounding on the table. לא ידעתי מה להגיד לו. למה כולם אידיוטים? Right? למה כולם אידיוטים? Right? We have this powerful Torah, which has, and this chelik of Torah shows that we have something that no other nation has anything close to it. If they could imitate halacha a little bit, if they could imitate Musar a little bit, this chokhmah nifla that explains how everything comes from Rishus Yachid, and it could explain how from the Oisis HaTorah the whole world was nivra, what Avinu was omed on, it's we're a powerful nation. We're packing heat, right? We're packing heat, right? Right? So even if we're small people, but we have the morasha, and this is explained in a different share. We have B'Yerusha, Torah Tzivon Morasha, Morasha Kilas Yaakov. Torah is called the Yerusha, right? So what triggers Yerusha? Could be, right? No, not trigger. No, that's the trigger. I got to talk about the liberal trigger. Don't be, use the trigger, but don't be triggered. That's for them, right? Right? But, what makes Yerusha? The Istalkus, right? That's just what makes the Yerusha. Mili, it's Chala Mili, that becomes a Mili, the moment of the next door, right? So so in another shir, my Rebbe explained, Hare Torah Tzivon Morasha Kilas Yaakov, right? We lost Moshe Rabbeinu, but it's Morasha. He's Morish the Torah to us with this Istalkus. And that's the end of a hilula of a tzaddik. It's not just that his simcha, that he climbs to higher madrega, but on this anniversary, his Torah becomes morasha kilas yaakov, becomes our legacy. He's morish his Torah, his ruchnius dika Yerusha, he gives to Klal Yisrael. This is the anniversary not just of him going up to a higher madrega, right, but it's also his giving his legacy to us, right? We're carrying, as small as we are, right, we're carrying a very heavy legacy that belongs to all of us, beside morasha Kilas Yaakov, the koch of the Ari that was nostalgic on this day in the in the middle of the 9 days, right? So we lost him, and we're sad about that. Although for him it's an aliyah, but on this day with his histalkus, he's mirish his Torah to us to keep us going, and that's why it's our simcha also. That's why we make a suda, not just because it's his simcha, but it's our simcha also, because on the day that the tzaddik is mistalik, his Torah becomes the Yerusha, he's morish at the Klal Yisrael, and we're carrying all that on our back. So we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Right, hare olo sabusha also klima, right? That I have Baruch Hashem, a daughter that it's Isaac in mathematics and physics, and they're making chidushim. The same lazy millennials, right, who are on social media, and you have to have their latte first at 11 a.m., right, etc. And still eating all the processed food that make ADHD, right? Im kolzeh, right? They're still being mechadish in mathematics and physics. Right? Because, even if they can't, set them in a time machine, they can never do what Einstein did, right? But they're still standing on his shoulders and being Moisef. What's with us, right? We're standing on the shoulders of the Baal Hilula, the Ariya Kodesh, right? And those who came after him, that all came to him in Farsh Torah, the Goyen in his way, the Baal Shem Tov in his way, the Ramchal in his way, right? We have to, why did we stop being Mechadish? Why did we become a bunch of art scroll retards, right? Really? Right? Because all their koachim were on their madrega, but it's our Yerusha. And we have that power inside of us. It's Morasha Kilas Yaakov. Right? And that's the simcha of the stalkus of a tzaddik. Not just he has simcha, but he's Morish his Torah to Klal Yisrael on this day. right? And as the Bari Lula, he gave us the koach to be oimid in Golos, right? He was nostalgic during the 9 days, but he gave us with this the Goyin, and he gave us with this the Chassidus, and he gave us the Ramchal, and these are the schools of thought that kept Klal Yisrael going, and endured, right, past the Holocaust, right? Right, and so this is what we need on this day to understand that the Rebbe is demanding from us a she'ifa for godless, right? That we should want to get back to the base that Besof Hayomim, this Sisrei Torah, which is the Chokhmah behind the Or that's Nizgala in the Beis HaMikdash, right? The Rebbe was marish us this, the Chokhmah of it, that we should want to have it, that we want to actually see it, V'sechazenu einenu, right? So it would just end, one of the things that in this bar in Sefer Yetzirah, which is one of the things that Chassidus, expanded, right, is that everything, in Gashmias is a mashal for Ruchnias, because this is what the Sefer Yetzirah explains. So everything was nivra mikoach HaTorah, right? It's an amazing thing that, physics and mathematics try to explain reality, describe reality. We say that reality tries to explain and display the Torah. Because it's Tako Baris Bar Alma, and that's what's in this parish, in this Chokhmah Nifla Azu, and that's what the Baal Shem Tov and his school of thought, they took this chelik of Kabbalah and expanded how everything that happens in Gashmias is a mashal for Ruchnias. So let me just end with this, just some ideas, right? We talk about Corona, right? And because of that, that's be social distancing, right? So Kayadua, Corona, Keser. Right, it's this parish in this book, right? That the meat of Malchus makes togetherness, right? It brings things together. The Melech brings things together, right? So there's so Corona, the Kesser fell, the Malchus fell, right? And because we have to distance, there's Pizur, right? Right, but we shouldn't just want. It's just a mashal. We shouldn't want that Corona scholars would go back to shul together. We should want that Varashem Lemelcha Kos, and it should be v'kabetz nidachenu me'arba kanfas haaretz. Right? Not just that. Since 2018, right? We say we got to get the house back, right? But that's just a mashal. Really, we in class have to get the house back on Harabayis, right? Yeah. But now it got even worse. That they're thinking that the White House will go to someone, an empty shell of a person, right? That in all the space between his ears, you could fit in Bernie Sanders and AOC, right? Right? It's amazing, right? But the White House, so it says in Gemara in Hanizokin, right? It's Gemara's Chorba Bais. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, to Andrinus, you're a Kesar, you're a king. He said, I'm just a general. So no, halavonon ba'adir yipol. The base measure can only fall to a king, right? Only ba'adir. Says, and the Gemara goes on and says, Vein levonon el base measure lanu kashmal levonon shu malbin chataim Yisroel. So Yisroel. That's the White House. The White House is the base Hamikdash. Malbin Chataim Shel Yisrael. And also we got to get the whiteness back, right? We have to make America white again, right? Right? So, but we have to, that's well, just that we get Trump reelected. But we have to, right, set the sights high. It's just a mashal that we should want to get the real White House, the base of it. That's Levanon, Shel Malbin Chataim Shel Yisrael. And the truth is that everything that we're talking about, of what we have to do and what Tzipisa Yeshua is, could all be summarized. There's one good phrase that's a mush for it. MAGA. Right? Ribor shall make Am Yisrael great again. Bimhera b'yameinu. L'chaim.